Welcome back, Tactical Aficionados. I am Damien Darko, and you are watching Fantasy Tactical, where it's not illegal if you don't get caught. So, I've been asking people recently, what is in the box? Whew. Well, if you're reading the custom thumbnail for this video, you may be asking yourself, why can't I afford the new Grimburg gavel, aka the Grimburg Carry, which is going to be running $650 on layaway for those of you that want to spend it. I'm just saying, if I were in a free state, I can get a 38 special and a 380 ACP for that money. But we have a much cheaper alternative running about 100 to 130 depending on where you get it. Whew. And it kicks off some of the same criteria, but not all. Ah, yes. Get out of there. Yeah. The Umarex HDP50 Compact Edition, not to be confused with the larger, chonkier boy, or with the HDR, Binky Bear. The HDP50 ticks off a few of the boxes in the more compact, I guess what you'd call carry options, oops, come on, for CO2 pew-pews. This version came at a standard configuration of 13 joules. They sometimes come in weaker. I've already removed the valve block from this, and it did not come with a restrictor. So, pretty simple process, just taking this top plate off. As the warning says, do not use for paintballs. This would actually suck as a paintball marker. 50 cals are actually garbage for paintball, just pointing that out. So you might be asking yourself, why this particular model? And the answer for that has to do with the compact nature. So, opening up our bottom puncture cap here, this is already loaded up, we have something kind of novel. Look at that cute little boy. That is an 8-gram CO2, not to be confused with the standard 12-gram CO2. So the bad news is that obviously you will get less CO2 spicy sauce in this. Good news is that, as you can see, it makes this launcher it makes this launcher far more compact. Let's compare just the handle size here, the grips, to the HDR and to our super chonky Pastel X68. Look at the size of that grip. Obviously there's a power disparity here as well, but if we just look at the grips, if we actually lined up the triggers like that, you'll see we got a chonky boy here. It could be done in cold weather. I mean, you know, I'm happy.
We'll give you a sex change operation.
It will. Looks like I'm happy to see it, but this one, the benefit of that 8-gram is it just kind of disappears. Certainly not the most powerful. This is a 50 cal versus the 68 cal. So yes, certainly a bit less. We're gonna put some chronograph readings over this if we can. It's a maybe today. It's a maybe. If not today, maybe I'll try it in the dreaded apartment. Ugh. We got the Devil's Seltzer. We're gonna be testing that out.
It's actually the Devil's Seltzer.
It's the actual Devil's Seltzer, not the off-brand. Some 7.8-gram aluminum 50 caliber. We have this rubber steel kind of hybrid ammo. I think this is also 2.8 gram. I actually have some of those loaded up in here, and they're a little bit stuck. I'm gonna have to fire them to get them out. So quick note, in order to load this, it has an internal, if we can see it there, magazine that kind of works a little bit like a 12 gauge, it's a tube mag, basically. And you kind of load them, you can only get 4. Something I don't like. I feel like with the size of this, they should have been able to somehow weasel a 5th round in there at least. A lot of companies now do magazines either from the front or especially in the grip. But the reason this grip is so small is because it doesn't have that. So again, it all kind of plays into the compact nature of this. And yeah, this is about the size of what you'd find with the 380 handgun. Let's get to the gel block. All right, we got our, are we up to 18 or 20% of the gel block now?
18.
18% ballistics gel block. And we got our small 8-gram CO2, very compact, Umarex HDP 50 compact. It is kind of sexy. I wish it didn't just come in orange. You have to dye it black, apparently. So I'm not expecting the most dramatic. This is a smaller variation of some of our other air launchers, but let's see what we get. Nice, reliable, engagement there. All right, definitely got center mass. Yeah, it's in there. I think we got, what, maybe an inch or two of penetration?
It's 5 inches, man.
Yeah.
It's 5.
Definitely 5. You just gotta measure a little further back.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's 5 inches, man. That's what he said. All right, Yusuf Odinson has just announced that he will indeed not be starting his bobsled team this year, and I blame the Devil Seltzer. Ah! Ah! Accuracy's not bad at a couple feet. We probably got a little juice in here, but I'm going to load up a new one. We'll see if we can get some chrono readings.
You actually only skimmed that.
Ooh, wait, you sure it didn't come in the other side and then...
Oh, you literally skimmed it.
Oh, wow, just a skim. All right.
I had a girlfriend like that once.
Yeah. Are you still watching Netflix? All right, we got another 8 gram loaded up. Haven't actually showed how this loading mechanism works. We'll just put this up here, put it into that notch, and I got a bunch of 2.8 gram aluminum in my pocket. We'll do a tactical reload. Oh, super tactical. Here they come. Here come the zombies. Brains. Put that down. There. All right, let's see if we get anything over Mr. Chrono, who is set to feet per second, not millimeters, because it's America, damn it. Whew, that thing is not looking good. That says 263. I've gotten much higher numbers on this than that. That's interesting. That one didn't read. Let's see if it's going to do this bullshit again. 242. Wow. So I'm going to, before I fire that next shot, I actually did this indoors, and I was getting these to move at 350. That's over 100 feet per second more.
I mean, the chronograph's kind of messed up.
It is, but it's the same chronograph. I feel like it's the slight variation in weather. It's kind of cold out, but not really. That's 100 feet per second less between 350 to 240. That's a lot of joules powers. I'll calculate that out on screen right now. That thing lost half of its effectiveness in slightly cooler weather. I'm going to fire the last one and see what that does. This is not good. 258, so that one was a little bit more, but still much less than I was expecting. I thought we were doing 350 because that's what I've gotten before.
The can, boss, the can.
The can, oh, tactical reload time. 2, 3, so that was 4 shots. Let's see how many, oh, gotta put that down. Let's see how many this thing gets before it gasses out. Ah! Oh, fuck you, chronograph. That says 296. That didn't even go over the chronograph. Okay, whatever. I don't even care anymore. Ha! No read. Ha! No read. Was that? Oh, that's out. I didn't have another bowl in there. And it's about done. Yeah. Wow, okay, so that was a lot less than I was expecting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do another chronograph reading, put them back to back indoors, and see what happens, because I think it's the weather. But that's important, because guess what? This isn't supposed to be used in the home. You have much bigger, more powerful things for this. This is supposed to be carried, let me make sure it's empty, basically on top of your dick for, you know, outdoors encounters and weather possibly just like this, or even worse. It still could have shot my dick. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm comforted, because if I did go to grab it and I accidentally hit the trigger, I'd probably be okay. But so would the zombie attacking me. 3 a.m. You hear a knocking at the door, and it's the deadly zombie Cantaloupe. Run for your lives! Got this thing loaded up with the 2.8 gram, what the hell are those? Steel, rubber, nylon, composite things, whatever. Let's see if it does anything. Boom! Off the side there. Ah! Ah! Oop,
What the?
That was interesting. Was that the same hole?
Exactly the same hole.
Oh boy. So that was 4. Tactical reload.
It's coming right at us.
It's still coming. It's still coming. Just like cousin sister.
What?
No, nothing. Oh yeah, here it goes. All right. gets a few shots there, all right. Oh, it's running out of steam. It does have a few more, but you're not really gonna get a reload. That's the problem.
Oof.
Yeah, for a soft target at least. Yeah, it's in there. That's, I think, our first hit did a little more damage.
How'd you get it in the same hole twice?
Ugh.
It was like...
No exits, though. I was gonna do this on a coconut. This is not gonna get it done on a coconut. This thing, and especially maybe in this weather, which isn't that bad, is not powerful enough to be a kinetic launcher. But what about pepper spray rounds or simulated pepper spray rounds? I got some of those practice chalk rounds. Is it going to be too powerful since I removed the valve block? Spoilers, I think the answer is no, because it's not that powerful. Oh, tell you what I think of this, Umarex. Oh, that didn't go through. Ah, what the hell? Another failure from Umarex. Whoop. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh! And stay tactical. Things have been a little bit underwhelming thus far, so we're gonna attempt to steer this ship away from Binky Bear waters by testing out the simulated OC rounds. Got it centered over my dick as usual. We're just gonna draw, pull, and fire 4 shots dead center and see if we can get a nice cloud of, well, simulated OC powder.
Brains.
As stated before, this thing is not gonna cut it, in my opinion, as a kinetic launcher. Maybe it's useful as an OC dispenser device. Here. Okay, they did not explode in the barrel. Nope, looking down the barrel. Nope.
Is there pepper spray in here?
No, there is not.
Just chalk.
So we're not going to get gassed. But if these will launch from without popping, then actual pepper rounds will. So, guess what, folks? It's useful for pepper rounds, if you can find them.
I mean, this dude's doomed.
Yeah.
You didn't get a headshot. I mean, like, center mass, that guy's all jacked up.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm curious. Again, these are really designed to disperse chemical, but what does the wood look like? Yeah, no real damage on the wood. Again, these pop. Tight, tiny indent. They're not kinetic. But again, this thing doesn't really do kinetic. I want to say it did fine with the pepper rounds. I would only suggest it with pepper rounds. Not sure how everyone feels about that. Yusuf, what do you think about the pepper rounds?
Delicious.
Let's go to the tails of the tape. Oh, hey, future Damien here. So before we move on to the tails of the tape proper, I need to address a very serious concern I have for the Umarex HDP50. So between the main filming here, I did some supplemental filming, which I was trying to get some extra chronograph readings indoors in a controlled environment, because I thought that the chronograph readings we got during the day of the main review were a little low. I thought maybe it was the cold weather. I said, let me try it indoors and slightly, more controlled. It was about 75, 77, warmer in there. And long story short, those chrono readings didn't happen because this thing had a catastrophic failure, which I think is based on a very serious design flaw having to do with the junction between the tubular magazine and the main barrel proper. It has this little kind of like a little bend in there. It ends up almost being 90 degrees, not quite. Little Mario brother warp tube in there that kind of connects the two, and there's a serious flaw, and I'm going to get into it in a different video because we're already running a little over here. That video's coming. We're going to talk about the catastrophic failure of the Umarex HDP50 Compact, and unfortunately it is going to affect today's Tales of the Tape. Welcome back, tactical aficionados, to the Tales of the Tape, where we'll be judging today's improvised EDC on 6 varied criteria. And that's right, I said EDC, not home defense accoutrements, because we are going to be mixing things up a little bit for what I consider to be carry options rather than home defense options by changing up one of our 6 varied criteria just a wee bit to better reflect the philosophy of use in today's Band State Special. So the Umarex HDP Compact, how's it do for availability? Well, it's not exactly an Amazon special in every instance. I've actually had some issues trying to get this through Amazon, depending on where it's being shipped from and to, probably because of my stay in New York. So I had to go through a different website. I did still have it delivered to my door, even with those spicy 50 caliber OC rounds, but I had to do a lot of workarounds. So instead of giving it the usual 5 out of 5, I'm going to have to drop it down to a 4.5. Still not bad for availability. A couple of the big cities are having issues even with Pepperball launchers. God help us. Next, on to the price. Well, it can be found, depending on where you are, between 100 and 130. I had to pay more because of where I am, but I also got a nice package that included OC rounds, a couple other little features, so that's not bad. And they even threw in a couple of those 8-gram CO2s. Not that they're really any more expensive than the 12-gram, so we're going to give it a 4 out of 5 for price. Next on to the ease of carry. That's right, not the ease of use, the ease of carry, because when you're talking about EDC, what's really important is it going to be small and compact and easy enough to have on you when you need it. The most powerful home defense implement in the world is absolutely meaningless if it's not there when you need it. So how does it do for ease of carry? Well, pretty damn good. The fact that it uses those smaller 8-gram CO2s actually gives its handle, should say grip profile, a very nice slim taper. It's easy to throw into appendix carry, into a pocket. It can really do a lot. It basically kind of falls into the category of what would be a 380 ACP Freedom Dispenser. Honestly, a bit bigger than 380s, but again, we're having to deal with improvised EDCs here for Band State, so take what you can get. I'm going to give it a very resounding 4.5 out of 5 for ease of carry. Ooh, next on to the capacity reload. Well, this is not going to get a 4.5, I'll tell you that right now. The capacity is 4, which is less than I want. I wanted at least 5 or 6 considering the size of this thing. It's definitely compact. It's not super compact. I use it in a pocket, but it's a large pocket. It's not a true pocket pistol in that sense. And it only holds 4, and it holds them in a tubular magazine, so you can't even hold 4 in the tube and 1 in the chamber because of the way it's designed with this weird right angle, which is a serious design problem we need to talk about. But basically, it's only getting 4, and you're not going to get a reload when you need it because it doesn't have a detachable box magazine, and it's not something you can do in the moment. So it's going to get one of the lowest scores in this category. It's going to get a 2.5 out of 5. Next on to the Intimidation. Well, guess what? Also a 2.5 out of 5. I said one of the lowest, and the reason for that is because at least in most of the models I can find online, they're a bright orange color, and I gotta tell you, I understand the value of making your less than lethal look different than an actual pew-pew, an actual Freedom Seed dispenser. I get it, but for legal reasons. But when it comes to deterring the zombies, you might want to have black on black. I'm just saying. And also the very unusual grip that kind of merges with the front. It doesn't look like a true pew-pew, and that's something that an attacker is going to notice even in the dead of night. Maybe they're pretty high or strung out. But I'm going to have to give this a pretty low 2.5 out of 5. I don't think it's very intimidating. Doesn't mean it won't ever work, but people who are not deterred by anything other than a real Freedom Seed dispenser aren't going to care about this thing. Unfortunately, it gets even worse. Ooh, effectiveness. I'm going to break down the effectiveness into 2 different categories. One of them for kinetic rounds, and one of them for OC, or chemical, because there's a difference here. As I've said before, this thing is not powerful enough to be a kinetic launcher. Therefore, in the terms of kinetics, I'm going to have to give it a 0.5, only half of a point. Pretty depressing. However, with the use of chemical rounds, I'm going to bump it up to a 2. This is a maybe, because some people are very susceptible to chemical rounds, well, like myself, I found out, and other people can basically use them as seasoning on their salsa. Like the cameraman Yusuf Odinson, they do not work on him. I would just basically have to throw it at his head and run. So I'm going to give it a 2 just because of the chemical rounds. Otherwise, it would be literally half a point. All right, tactical aficionados, so what does that give us for a total? Well, if we're talking about kinetics, it's a somewhat underwhelming 18.5. Right off the bat, I'm not suggesting it for kinetics. I'm suggesting this as an OC launcher, so that's what I'm going to give it an official score for. Using OC rounds, I'm going to bump this up to a 20 out of 30. 20 out of 30 doesn't sound bad, but there's a problem, folks, and it's something we're going to have to discuss in a future video. This thing has a fatal design flaw that can actually stop it from functioning. There's a lot of these less than lethal launchers that can have issues with things like dry firing. Umarex has had several issues. The HDR had an issue which caused 2 of my valves to blow out, at least. This one has an issue that actually lodged one of those 50 caliber OC rounds in which it actually stopped the bolt from moving, therefore disallowing the discharge of CO2. You would just get a dry click, nothing. And I had actually been carrying this thing, which means that if it had ever come down to a real situation, I would have been completely screwed. And because of that, because of this particular design feature, which we're going to talk about, I have no choice. I have no choice but to give the Umarex HDP50 the dreaded Binky Bear Award. That's right, I now have 2 Umarex products getting the Binky Bear. Although I am willing to give the HDR one more chance in the future, this is a pretty depressing turnout for Umarex. Well, there you have it, tactical aficionados. Yet another inglorious Binky Bear Award for Umarex, who seems to be collecting them like Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Moving on, we are finally going to catch up with our bloodborne katanas for home defense. It's something we've been talking about and haven't really gotten around to. I'm going to be doing a review on this just as a little backup option. But what about something a little more powerful? Well, I have a follow-up to our Black Powder Magnum special, actually our most popular video on the whole channel, in which we test out 40 grains of Hodgins 777 with a 200 grain Freedom Seed. And I'm going to tell you right now, yeah, that review actually had some issues, but at least it still demonstrated some interesting power. But what about your less lethal EDC situation? Well, what am I carrying on my dick today? Oh, look at that, boys and girls. It's the Lancer Scorpion, a little-known competitor for the Umarex HDP Compact, as it is in roughly the same size department overall, but actually has twice the capacity and a very different magazine. So we're going to be testing this bad boy out and seeing if it makes a better EDC option right here on Band Stay Tactical, where it's not illegal if you don't get caught.
Zombies falter as we night, Band Stay Tactical, set bold. Weapons, new stories unfold. Zombies crumble when we hold. Courage was more than gold.